3. Hi everyone, welcome to the Hunyah Show Queen to Queen, where Global United Queens discuss mental health daily challenges. Today on the Hunyah Show Queen to Queen, our guest is Miss Global United 2021, who is a pageant competitor in Global United Live Pageant. Morgan is a mental health advocate and who is part of National Alliance on Mental Illness, known as NAMI, St. Louis. Miss Global United 2021 will share her views on mental health. Welcome, Morgan.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the Hunyah Show Queen to Queen. I know we've been exchanging a lot of emails discussing about mental health. It's my pleasure to have you on my shows. So my first question is, Morgan, how did you begin your journey in pageantry?
Interestingly enough, it was my mental health situation that led me to pageantry in the first place. I was in a spot years ago when I was just in a very, very dark place. And I signed myself into inpatient care at that point in time. And I wasn't 100% sure what all of that meant, but I did it. I was put on a 10-day hold, and it was one of the most frightening and also one of the most meaningful decisions that I ever made. While I was there, I learned a lot about organizations that I had no idea existed. Mental Health America, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, just really things that were, as a society, we weren't talking about. And when I was out and I was moving forward with my life, I recognized that I had a story to tell. I mean, I had been misdiagnosed and therefore mismedicated for 17 years at that point. I was only 24, and most of my life had been spent believing things that were untrue, and so not seeking the treatment that I really needed. When I went to share my story with people, they kind of looked at me like I had three heads. Especially here in the States, we have a challenge sometimes with accepting stories that don't come from celebrity. So I had somebody approach me about the Mrs. America system, and Mrs. America Illinois was coming up. And so I went and competed the first time. I then had a sash and a crown, and it opened up all sorts of doors, because now when I wanted to tell somebody my story, or I wanted to discuss it with schools, it was, yes, come sit in this gym, talk to this cafeteria full of middle school students, tell them your experience, have them start talking. And that is really where I fell in love with pageantry. It wasn't about the gown. It wasn't about the crown. It was about really having a door opened to me to be able to share my story, not just for myself, because there is a lot of benefit therapeutically that comes from sharing my story so constantly and so consistently, but also for helping others, so that girls especially, but anybody who was in that middle school, high school, young adult range knew that they weren't going through those things alone. They weren't the only one, because at that juncture in my life, I really, really felt like I was the only one. So, excuse me a second. So from there, I did a number of other systems that really allowed me to focus on my platform, on my mission. And I had believed that I was retired, for lack of a better term, until my family was going through another dark space for the last few years. And my daughter, who is actually the title holder of Miss Global United, me being Ms. Global United, she had approached me and said, "Hey, Mom, would you consider doing another pageant? Would you consider kind of coming out of that?" And if you know my daughter, which some of you do who are watching, I'm sure, you know that that is probably the farthest thing that I had expected from our future together. And but we did it. It was an amazing experience for her, for me, for us bonding. And now we both have stories that we get to share along that train of mental health. And I mean, she started pageantry the same reason that I did, because she had a story that she needed to share, and she knew that the crown and the sash were the door openers to get her there.
I agree. There's so much more, and there's so much to pageantry in there, and it's like, there's so much opportunities. Like, even personally for myself, like ever since I started competing at pageants, I think you and me could both relate this, right? There's so many things coming up. Like, so many people contact you, so many people want to talk to you at the same time. Yes. But at the same time, you have to also be careful. If they say that you're gonna pay or it's free, that's one thing I've noticed. There's also services like those that are approached you, but then there's like so many people who want to share stories with you. So it's like it has a positive impact. And it's like
Absolutely.
it's growth. It's like it's personal growth for yourself. So I agree. Like listening to this is just amazing.
Oh, I will say, I mean, there's something special too about Global United. You know, it was definitely we were very focused on something that was very focused on a platform and very focused on community service. My personality wear during competition was actually sweatpants and a hoodie and a mask. And I got to embrace the fact that that is my personality wear. Like, yes, here, crown and sash and sparkles and all of those things are super important. And I love those things and they make me smile. But there are plenty of times where I don't want to smile. And I am just wearing a mask and just going through the motions. And I know that I'm not the only one. So to get on a stage in front of other pageant royalty and people who have certain expectations as to what you're going to do out there, and say, you know what, it's not always shiny and new, and it's not always perfect and pretty. Real life can be hard. So to take home an international crown from that experience and not be a runner-up and not be those types of things is huge. I think that it's so meaningful that I could do it without all of the shine and perfection, with my rough edges at all. And I think that if nothing else, I hope that somebody else sees that from this crown, that this isn't about me. This is about you and your rough edges, and they're okay.
I agree. Because it's like the feeling that you have, and it's like that, you know, when you have the crown and the sash, and then even if it, like that's like a part of it, but then there's so much more at the same time. It's like the way, like, this is an international pageant system, right? So being part of an international pageant system is like the amazing is like there's like so much, there's like amazing thing, but there's so much to it. It's like you're competing with people with around the world, and it's like, and at the same time, like there's like we're very focused on a cause. There's like so much to it. Like I totally agree with you. Like Global United pageant is like one of my best decisions. Like
Absolutely.
to pageant, because it's like you can like there's like I've came across so many pageant listing, but sometimes it's hard to tell like do they like does it like what you're like how the ad is there, like do you really mean what you say, right? So it's like I remember when I first came across Global United, it looks like really good. That's why I signed up. I'm like, no, you know what? I feel like I see myself in there, and then I think it's like that's the approach you have, right? Like you see yourself in there, so you go for it. And that's the same thing. Like I'm also part of other pageant systems as well. So it's like, yeah. So I agree. But that's an amazing story about like how it's mental health related. And then for me, it's like I am like I go for mental health awareness. Like I go for mental health advocacy myself. Like I actually support that reason because for me, I often deal with that a lot. And it's like in South Asian community, it's like it's seen more like a stigma at some point. So it's like I don't like that's why like I can relate to you on that thing. That it's
Absolutely.
And moving on to my next question, Morgan, I know you're part of National Alliance of Mental Illness. What is your opinion on mental illness?
So I have been involved with a number of organizations. The National Alliance on Mental Illness is here in the States. It is obviously a national cause, and so they have kind of their hierarchy, but there are local resources everywhere. And the reason that I have become as involved, I actually am currently in training for one of the programs that we run. It's called Ending the Silence. And the reason that I really stepped up is because it is very education based, whether it be in a school, whether it be working with actual students, whether it be working with professionals, administrators, teachers, whether it be working with your community. They're really focused on not being quiet about it, like being able to share your story. And so it's not just me. I go in and I get to teach cross the T's and dot the I's and teach the stuff. But I always go in with a young adult who is telling a story that he or she is going through or has just recently experienced or is living with every day. Sometimes that is their personal experience with mental health and their own battles. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's my mother or my father or whatever. And that's the beauty of NAMI. And I am part of the NAMI St. Louis chapter. The beauty of it is that it's so for everyone. There is not one person in any corner of the world who has not been touched by mental health one way or another, whether it's because of your personal inner battle or because somebody that you know or somebody that you love or somebody that you care about is battling something. We all need those things. We all need that support. We all need to know that we're not going through these things alone. And so I really have, as I said, having been inpatient, having been hospitalized and gone through some of the treatments and things, and not knowing that any of these things existed, I've had some recent conversations. As you can see, we have some dresses behind me because I run a boutique with my daughter that is a nonprofit, kind of giving back to our community where we can have one-on-one conversations with people who are going through things. The biggest thing to us is when you look in that mirror, I want you to see the amazing girl, the amazing woman, the amazing mom, the amazing sister, the amazing everything that I saw when you walked in the door in your sweatpants and your sunglasses or your messy bun, whatever. I want you to see that same amazing girl in the mirror that I see when you walk in. But we have all of these things here because we get those chances to have those one-on-one conversations. And I was unaware, because I have been exposed to these things, how few people have been introduced to NAMI, to Mental Health America, to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Especially around here, so everybody seems to be familiar with acronyms like AA. Somebody knows somebody who's been to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, or somebody knows somebody who's been to an Al-Anon meeting, which is, Al-Anon is, in case you are unfamiliar, is for family members or loved ones who are dealing with somebody who's going through, who's battling addiction. But nobody realizes that those same types of resources are available when it comes to mental health. When it comes to mental health, that's something that we're all facing. We have no problem talking about the alcoholic or the addict or the person who was imprisoned or whatever else they may be going through. Somehow mental health just kind of falls off and we're all dealing with it in one way or another. So that's really become a big push for what I work for and why I wanted to volunteer. At one point, I was hoping to get a position working for NAMI, and if I could do that every single moment of every single day, 100%, I would. In the meantime, I volunteer, I do what I can. We currently have the NAMI walk coming up. So if you are one who likes to do runs and walks and those things, I'm not a runner. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like the 5K or the half marathon isn't my thing, but we're walking, and we're walking as a village. That's what we're kind of calling it, is making sure that people know that it takes the village and you have one, that you're not the only one. Nobody battles alone. So I will certainly share with you, and we can post out later links if anybody's interested in learning more about those walks, if anybody's interested about learning more details on NAMI St. Louis, how you can be involved no matter where you are. Yes, it's the National Alliance on Mental Illness in St. Louis. If you are local, 100%, call me, email me, or reach out to me. I 100%, I want your feedback. I want you to hold your hand when you're having a bad day. I want you to volunteer when you're having a great day. But at the same time, there are so many resources out there for not just here in the States, but worldwide. And I want to be a part of making sure that no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what your struggle, you know that you're not alone.
I agree. And that's amazing because, like in Canada, we have a thing called CMHA. So it's like CAMH, I think. So that is like very similar to National Alliance of Mental Illness. It's similar. And when you mentioned about these walks and stuff, like I've heard about the AA because that's also over here too. But it's like it's
Right.
mostly in like it's mostly like organizations who does it. I don't know if hospitals do that too. And then like when you mentioned about the walks, we don't like, that's interesting because over here we often have like fundraisers to do with mental health, but we don't have like anything to do with like walks. So that's a really good idea. Like if I was to go in a meeting right now, if I had to discuss what we do for mental health, I would definitely go with this because it's like having a walk to do with mental health. That's really amazing because it could be like some people talking about it. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
And
that's just it, is you've got miles of walking so that you're going to be having open conversations about real stuff that's going on. It's really not about the walk. It's not even, to an extent, it's about the fundraising. We know that we need to raise funds in order to keep these things going, but it's about the conversations. It's about building the community. And that's really what we have to do with NAMI, with with anything, just with those of us who recognize, hey, this is a struggle, we need to make sure that we are letting people know that you're a community, you're a part of something, and that they have somebody who they can lean on. I end my days, most days, I've kind of flipped my perspective on how I use social media. So I'll go and I'll see somebody who's struggling. Maybe a teacher's having a bad day because these past few years have been hard on educators. Maybe a friend, whoever it is, maybe it's a complete stranger that seems to be in a group. They're in a Pampered Chef group or something completely off base, but they just reached out and said, hey, I'm having a bad day, or I'm struggling, or my kid did this or whatever. And I try at least once a day to share a message of hope, of, hey, some complete stranger, somebody maybe you wouldn't have thought of, somebody who haven't talked to in years, whatever I may be to that person, is thinking of you. Like, I am wanting good things for you. Here's a inspirational quote. Here's a piece of scripture. Here is just a kind word to know that, like, I see you, I hear you, I'm here, you're not alone. And that's kind of how I've started using social media more and more. I think it frustrates some people because I'm not as responsive as I could be to just whatever is going on. But I just think that in my own darkest moments, if somebody had reached out, it would have made all of the difference. And sometimes they did. You reaching out and allowing me to be here was one of those times. So I appreciate you. The least I can do is pass it forward.
And Morgan, that brings me to my next question. What advice would you give to someone who is dealing with mental illness?
Talk about it. Talk about it. You will find someone to give you that lifeline. But if you are battling, whether it be because you are battling with things that are going on in your mind and you don't like what you see in the mirror, or you don't like what you see on paper, or whatever, or it is that your mom or your dad or your loved one, your friend is battling and you don't know how to be there, talk about it. Because I assure you, when you use your social media, when you use your conversation, when there is somebody there who is battling something similar, that you can lean in and lean on each other, or who has battled it already and can be a mentor or a guide for you, reach out. Just do not let that eat you inside. That's the biggest piece of advice that I can give anybody, because if you choose to try to battle it alone, it will eat you inside. And I don't want that for anyone, ever.
I agree. And that's amazing. Like what you have to say about talk about it. Because I agree, like some things could be just done easier if you just talk about it, right? Like,
Absolutely.
It starts from like where you start to talk before you go to see any counselor or something. It's better you just talk about it and you just see if it needs to go up or not. That's the only
Exactly.
thing.
Somebody is going to reach out. Yes, I think therapy is a terrific thing. And sometimes medication is needed, sometimes prayer, sometimes different belief systems, whatever the case may be. All of those things are tools, but the only way to find the right tool is to talk about what's going on. And
I agree. And it's to
find that resource.
To you. That I agree. And Morgan, so my last question is, would you like to share with the viewers that where they can reach you on social media handles?
Sure. So I'm a little bit of everywhere, if I'm honest. Obviously, you can find me through Global United at Ms. Global United. If you want to really follow along with my my cause and the mission, at the Berg Buzz is the best place to go. That's at the Berg, B-U-R-G, like small village, Buzz, B-U-Z-Z. Unless you want to find me on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, you can find me at Morganized Chaos, which is probably the best descriptor of me that ever was. But any of those places, I would love to see you, talk to you, hear from you, support you in any way that I can. That's honestly what makes my heart happy, and what keeps me going is all of the ways that I have found to be able to use my story to support others.
That's amazing. So to the viewers, make sure you follow Miss Global United 2021, Morgan Leah, and make sure to follow her on Berg Buzz as well as LinkedIn. And be sure to tune into the Hunyah Show Queen to Queen episode, the next episode, which will be coming up later on in a few days. And be sure to follow Official Hunyah Travels, and be sure to keep up with all the latest updates. And make sure you stay tuned for the next episode. And Morgan, I would say Miss Global United 2021, it's a pleasure to have you on my show. It's an amazing story that you have. So be sure to tune into this and be sure to check out this interview on YouTube. And just want to say bye, everyone. And thank you so much, Miss Global United 2021.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.